Hello and welcome to Monkey's Paper Palooza Craft Corner. Today we are going to be going over coloring with the Tombow dual brush markers and using some techniques and tips to make coloring with them more successful. So I ended up buying 3 packs of these for demoing for you guys today. There are of course more packs than that. You get 20 as well as full packs. They are very similar to the TwinTone markers that we used in a previous video. The only thing different is the tips are wider. You do get that little felt marker tip that you had in the TwinTone, but you also get a brush tip. So they are very similar to your brush markers that you get from Arteza. The only thing different will be, of course, the tip, because the Tombow do possess a flexible felt tip. They do not have that brush tip like the Arteza, though their channels and their colors of the marker are probably about the same size and similar. The tip, of course, like I said, is felt, so you can definitely have that flexibility, but you do not have it like a paintbrush like the Arteza. So for some people, they will probably like that better. So I do love both of them. They have a nice little, like I said, fine tip on the bottom. So if you have more detailed pieces that you need to color in, this is great. Like I said, these come in the packs like I have, but also a 20 pack as well as the full size pack. Now these come with numbers on them, and that is the corresponding to the pen. So you can buy this pack, but if you run out of the red, let's say, you can go find that number and buy just the red, which is something, honestly, Arteza has not done. Once your marker is gone, in Arteza, you just usually have to buy a whole new set. They do not have single pens available. But Tombow does sell their pens separate, so if you do need to just buy a single color, you can refill it easy. Now, I did some swatches on a piece of paper. This is on watercolor paper, since we are going to bleed them out just to show their saturation so that you can see for yourself what happens when they react to water. Now I did both the fine tip as well as the brush tip, just so you can see that both sides can blend with water beautifully, so that you don't feel afraid to use that fine tip. So I'm going to dip these in my water and I'm going to pull these out. And I just want to show you what you can do with water. Since these are a water-based ink, very similar to the Arteza and also the TwinTone, you can activate them with water and use it to blend your colors out. But you do also get colorless blenders with this also, and you can also use those to blend your colors too. And Tombow has made a lot of little accessories, including a blending tablet where you can blend your colors together to make fun multicolored calligraphy and stuff with it, and do it that way too. So there's a lot of fun tools that come with these markers that you can buy separately. And the fact that you can buy these also as single stock, should you run out of a certain color because you use it more, is a good plus also. And I love Arteza's markers and their products, but I do wish someday they will come out with that option too, because there's always a color that you use more than others. And they have a lot of fun little containers for them and everything from marker holders to Tombow has a lot. So Arteza's starting to catch up on them a little bit, which is a kind of a cool thing. So we're almost done our gray tones. I had bought the gray tones, the flesh tones, and the brights only because these are the colors I reach for the most. When I am coloring stone or an animal with gray fur, or, even something that's made out of metal, I go towards my grays real fast. And it's also good for shadowing on whites. And the same thing with the flesh tones. I do sometimes do faces and stuff like that. And to have flesh tones available is a fantastic thing to have. But I also use them too for animals also. And of course, I do a lot of flower coloring. So having the brights available to me is also a plus. Though I do hope to continue to buy some of these markers and add them to my collection. For now, we're going to try out these and show you what they do. And you can get the single packs usually for about $20 to $26. Do now have 20 packs available via Tombow and some of your retailers, where you can get double the markers you get, as well as the full enchilada. They have the big sets with every color that Tombow carries. So depending on what you're planning on doing, you can buy the colors that resonate with you. And sometimes buying the little single ones, you do get repeats. But I do have to say, it does help you when you're trying to only do certain colors and you don't need every single color in the whole marker field. It is nice to have that option. And you can always buy singles, like I said, and add them to your kits as well. So we did the flesh tones, and you see they just bleed beautifully. The colors are vibrant and the brights. Even the flesh tones, they have a lot of color in them and a lot of pigmentation. So they are a wonderful marker. They do beautifully with water, and they are so much fun. So look at those brights. Look how far they went. And even some of the neutral tones, some of them didn't go as far because they're very light, but you still have a good bleed between them. Now, like I said, you can also use your colorless blender, and most of your kits come with one, especially the smaller ones. So you may get duplicates that way. But it allows you to blend two colors, or even blend down one color if you do not want to use water. And then you can clean off your tip and go back to it. So another way, I can do it right here on the paper, to make use of what you have. So if you don't like using water, you can use a colorless blender and get the same feature. Now you can also blend two colors together. They're totally beyond the spectrum, and make them blend together in a nice ombre effect. So here I have the darker red with the kind of corally pink, and I'm going to blend these two colors together. So another way to make shadowing easier, make an ombre effect, blend in your colors, your colorless blender. And you can also buy those separate too. So if one of your colors blenders dries out, or you want to just have another extra one, you can buy those separate also. So Tombow has a lot of really fun things with these markers. In fact, I think they have more fun things for these markers than they do any of their other products, because they have a blending palette you can get boxes to hold them, you can get all kinds of fun things. And the fact that they are water-based also gives you that flexibility to also blend them with water. So great for people who like working with watercolor. They are a nice medium to have. Now, this kit, I believe, is called Forest Friends, and it's by Honeybee Stamp, and it's a very fun little kit. So, and I have this as well as the dies. So we're going to end up cutting these out. But they're really fun, and the little sentiments are adorable. So I'm going to stamp these out a couple times just to have these little animal images with my Memento tuxedo black. They're really cute little forest friends. Look at them with the little bird and the bear. And I think we're going to have some fun coloring this, and I'm going to show you different ways to do it. And I've got my craft mat here too, because we're going to have some fun with this after, and I want to make sure that we have everything ready for us. So, like I said, gray tones are a great thing to have because honestly, for this little rabbit and these little bears, I am going to color. So the first one I do, I'm going to just do with blending it with the markers. That way you can see blending techniques with this. So just in case you are not a, can I say, watercolor person, you don't like doing watercolors, they freak you out a little bit, they make you feel intimidated. This gives you the flexibility to do it in whatever way you're comfortable with. So we're going to just do basic ink blending. I do this a lot also with my Arteza. You can use the Arteza also with water, but I sometimes just like blending the colors together and leaving the pigments rich and not using water to dilute them. You do get a slightly different look because you don't get that free-form kind of watercolor look, but you still have some fun with it. So we're going to darken up his little features and his little paw. Now let's do this little bunny. I'm going to do this bunny in, I guess, a little more of a nude tone versus doing a gray bunny. I'm going to color it in a little bit. Bluebird. And then we're going to do some coloring around the hedgehog. This is a fun little image to color because they're just so cute. And there we go. First one done. Now for the second one, I want to show you blending it with water. So this time I'm going to do the bear black, which is more familiar with what I see around my house. We get black bears here where I live in New England. So I decided to do this one a little more black. So same thing, I'm going to shadow up this bear. But instead of pulling in another color, I'm just going to pull in some water and pull out the color and shade him in that way. So two different ways you can use these to make some fun techniques on it. So depending on how many you have, let's just say you bought a 20 pack and you only have 20 colors in this and you do not have two gray tones to use together. This is a great way to make the most of what you do have, because then you're not going, I only have this many colors, I can't shade them, I can't do anything. You can. And this time I'm going to do the bunny gray. And pull out the colors in this bunny a little bit. Oops, I forgot his little arms. There we go. And now I've been heat setting in between because I don't want my colors to run as I do it. So that way I know the other section is dry before I start adding the ink on the second section. And same thing with here with the third section. Now we're going to blend in this color a little bit. And I just realized I probably didn't make it dark enough. Let me go in with a darker brown. That way it blends closer to a medium tone. color the basket, ears, and then we'll put some rosy cheeks on these two. Touch up the little details with the bear and the black, and same with the bunny. And then we gotta do our little bird here. This one will also blend. There is the little bird. So, as you see, same thing, just a different, slightly different technique. As you see, we will get more of a fun color technique. Now, like I said, we put this mat here for a reason. We are going to use this as our palette. And just to show that if you don't have watercolors and you want to make a fun watercolor background, but you have these markers, that you can also do that with this. So I'm going to add some fun colors. Oops, and I'm going to bring this up a little bit so we show more colors here. And I'm going to use them as my watercolors palette as I flick some color droplets onto some watercolor paper. And I'm using the Canson extra large watercolor paper to do this technique. And I'm going to start light to dark. I'm just going to use my wide bristle brush to flick some flicks on there. And I got a little bit there. Oops, a little too much water on this one. But we'll quickly dry it a little bit. And we'll come back with some more fun colors. I think that's going to be as good as we're going to get it. So next color. And it's always good when you're doing this to go lightest to darkest because you're less apt to contaminate your colors versus going the dark to light. Now we're getting some fun splicks and splats in there. So we'll let that dry. And on this one, we are going to heat emboss in on the watercolor paper the sentiment as well as the 3 little hearts that we have that can kind of make them solid. This kit came with solid and also open hearts, so depending on what you need to use it for. This case I chose the solid only because I'm going to do a ink resist with it. And I'm going to be using Recollections snow embossing powder to make this fun resist. Next video we're going to do some more types of resist. I want to show the idea of resist and what you can do to make a resist pattern on it, because it's a fun way to have fun with ink blending, colors, and have things pop. And resist watercolor is really fun also. It's a great way to do fun techniques. So we're going to just ink smush on this one, and we're going to go crazy with ink here. I'm going to fill this whole panel with color. And as you see, some of my colors kind of did get muddy. Just fine though, because we're going to add some more color to it. I'm going to dry this slightly, wipe down this mat, and add some more colors. So to make it a little less muddy, I'm going to find colors that go good together, wet them, and then ink smush it. And that way I can layer the ink without it getting muddy. And there we go. We're getting rid of some of that muddiness now. Let's wipe it down again. And as you see, we're starting to see the color behind there. So I feel like I need some yellow and some green in there. Put some more color on there. Way it's less muddy and more vibrant. Now that's looking a little bit more, but let's now add some reds. All right, get some more water. Now we're going to smush this red in there, and we're going to try to get this whole panel saturated if we can. Because we want the pictures to show really good. Now, where I have the writing, I am going to now come in with my markers and some water. And I'm going to add more color to that area. And the reason I'm doing that is you want that white to pop. So having it a little shadowed with some extra color behind it really makes it pop. Now, if you want to make it look a little less like it's kind of colored in, you can add some that way. Wipe it off as you go, and then add water again. And it looks less like you've tried to make it that way. And it also adds some color where you might not have gotten some. So great way to do it. Now to get the same sentiment on there, I am going to do on the speckled panel, it just in black. So kind of reverse. We did the other one in white with bright colors as your background. And for this one, we're going to make it black with lighter colors in the background. So two different ways to have the same sort of card come out of the same thing. So like I said, tuxedo black, we're going to come in here. And this time I chose the open hearts. And the reason coming into that was I'm going to color in these hearts with my Tombow markers and make them pop. So isn't that nice? Same thing, just different tones. All right, so we're going to color in with our reds and pinks these hearts. And I think I might have put these down a little too low when I laid them out on my thing. But we will find out when we put our die cut bears and our forest friends. We're going to just place the panels on there and see where we go. I also die cut out of some pink fresh paper some of the little hearts so that I can add a three-dimensional look to it. And yes, I did go down a little low on that, but that one I did not. So apparently I was a little low on my measurements, which is fine. We will just go with it. So with some Scotch foam tape, I'm going to add the three-dimensional effect on these forest friends. And we're going to make them a three-dimensional element. So we're going to tape it, cut it as much as we can without making it over the top. I think that'll cover it enough. So we'll pull off the backs of these. And sadly, that will cover up on the hearts, but that's okay. Thus, we have these three-dimensional hearts. So I put this panel on a card stock card form in the craft color. And for the bright one, I'm going to go for the white. Only because I feel that, wow, my zig is not coming out. So let's go and do my tonic Nuvo pen. Sometimes my tips get a little dried out. And I think that one just needs to sit for a little bit. All right, so let's do this. And there we go. We put a little bit of hearts on there, and that gave it that added interest. So same thing with this. We're going to adhere the panel onto the card form. And look at some of this foam tape on it. So that way our bear and his little forest friends are a beautiful three-dimensional effect. There we go. Now my one concern is that these might blend a little bit in the background to what we had before, but I still think it's going to make a nice effect either way. Another way to make them pop, of course, would be to add some glossy accents or a lacquer pen over them to give them a little shine. But I think I'm going to leave them alone and just add some hearts. And I think I'll add this last heart to this. I feel like it needs one more. All right. So there's our two cards. But now I really want to add some of our transparent rhinestone gems. We have a champagne and a purple. I'm going to start with a champagne, though I'm thinking I may not like this one on it because it kind of blends to the background more than I like. Yeah, I do not. I do not like the champagne on this color. Because they're transparent and there's no foil back, they don't have the same look. They tend to blend in really nicely. So finding the colors that are too close to your color on your card sometimes doesn't bode well. So I'm going to go for the purple on this one only because it's different. It's not the same color as the card, and that way, even though it's pulling in the colors that are behind it, it's not hiding in the colors behind it. So we're going to add a few of them there. And there is that card. So we'll use the champagne on this one because it's a lighter background. It may pop a little bit better. Yes, it pops a lot better. So sometimes when you try something, you go, it's not what I want. And you have to improvise. And there we go. Two beautiful cards made with the fun techniques using the Tombow dual brush pens, both with watercoloring as well as blending. So if you like this video, please check out the last video we uploaded, as well as one specially curated just for you. And like always, we welcome you to like, ring for notifications, subscribe with this icon, and check out our Facebook and Instagram pages as well as our website.